know me, you know one of my favorite things is cookies. So when I saw this brand new stamp set, Sweet Jar, and it had cookies in it, chocolate chip cookies or plain cookies, I guess you could stamp them however you want, right? But they had those in there and I was like, I have to have this set. So today's card is going to be a sweet cookie card and I can't wait to share it with you. Okay, so here is the new stamp set and punch bundle, the Sweet Jar stamp set. And it is great for all occasions. Look, we've got shamrocks, we've got hearts, we've got birthday candles. I mean, this could be for anything. And of course, we've got cookies with some chocolate chips or maybe some nuts, however you like your cookies, right? Maybe some raisins, some oatmeal raisin. What's your favorite cookie? You have to tell me in the comments. These can also double as some jelly beans, and I'm sure all kinds of other things we can think of. They sort of look like little potatoes too, right? So this set has this cute jar, and I love it because there's a punch that goes with this, so it makes this such a super easy set to work with, right? Because it's got that punch, and so it's quick. So today's card, let me show you, is a fun, sending a little sweetness your way. And I'm moving this all around so you can see, look at how realistic our jar looks. I can't wait to show you how to do that. Okay, so for today's card, and every week, if you are wanting to know the measurements or the step-by-step instructions, the supply list, you can find them all on my blog at stampinqueenbee.com. You can also subscribe there to my weekly Buzz Bulletin. That's my newsletter, my email newsletter. It's totally free, and you can subscribe and get the PDFs each week in your inbox. Also, if you need one of our new Stampin' Up! Catalogs, our new annual catalogs, on my blog there is a request a catalog form you can fill out right on the home page, and I will be happy if I am your demonstrator, or if you need a demonstrator, I'm happy to send that your way. Okay, so today's card, let's get started because it's just so fun. We're using all kinds of new fun products on here, and I just can't wait to show you. So let's do some stamping first. I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap grid paper here, and I'm going to bring in some early espresso ink, and I'm going to bring in a piece of pecan pie. So this is just a strip of pecan pie. We're going to start by using those chocolate chips. Who doesn't love to start with chocolate, right? So we're going to ink this up, and we are just going to stamp our chocolate chips. We're just going to kind of alternate all along this strip here. And I'm just turning my little chocolate chips so that they are chocolate chips in all directions, right? And we're just going to go ahead and cover this whole piece of pecan pie. Now remember, you don't need the measurements today. They will be on my blog and in your Buzz Bulletin email. So this strip of pecan pie, you can see we've got all of our little chocolate chips all sporadic on there. So I'm going to set that aside for us. And then we're going to bring in a piece of basic white. This will be our inside piece. And we're going to stamp some chocolate chips right along the edge. So for this, I'm only going to use this side part of my chocolate chip stamps. And we're just going to kind of go all the way down our card layer here. Who doesn't love lots of chocolate, right? Okay, so that looks good. So we've got chocolate chips all down the side of our card. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this piece of pecan pie and we're going to grab a basic white layer. And we are going to piece these together right on our card. So let me grab my liquid glue here, and we're just going to add this pecan pie strip here, right on the left side with equal borders all the way around. And we've got those secured together. So I'm gonna let this dry for a second before we do the next step of that. I'm gonna bring in my paper trimmer here and a piece of crumb cake. So this is a full sheet of crumb cake. We're just gonna go ahead and score that down the middle, 4 1/4. We're going to cut this in half at 5 1/2, and that's going to give us 2 card bases. So I love to do this as a review for avid stampers, and also as I know there are lots of new stampers joining us, and so measuring card bases is always a tip that we can all use refresher on, right? So we're just gonna take this scored piece, we're gonna fold it right in half, and we're gonna take our bone folder here, and we're just gonna burnish that so that our card base lays totally flat and is ready for us. So let's take that inside piece here with our liquid glue. We're just going to add that on. Love our liquid green glue. Are you on team green glue? I love green glue. It's probably my #1 go-to, but I really love all our adhesives. I think they each have a time and a place that they work best, right? But I love the wiggle room that liquid glue gives us in case our positioning is a little bit off. Don't those chocolate chips just look the best? Don't you just want to eat them? Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and close up our card front there. And then this piece will be dry now. So I'm gonna bring in another new product, my favorite. I think this is a must have for everybody's craft room, and that is the mini corrugated 3D embossing folder. So we're gonna take this piece that we glued together, we're gonna put that inside of our mini corrugated embossing folder. It's not a mini folder, it's just mini corrugations, right? They're spaced out in the mini. So you can see I've got that inside. Now I'm gonna run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. It's gonna come out the other end, and look at that texture that it gives it. So remember, stamp, then glue, adhere that to your basic white layer, and then run the 2 of them together. Now look at what a difference you have with a little bit of texture, right? It looks great like that, but when we give it a little texture, it turns from great to wowy. So we're just gonna take this piece now, add some liquid glue, now that we've embossed that, given it some texture. This mini corrugated folder, man, I think it goes with just about everything. It looks so good with so many different things. Okay, so we've got that adhered to our card front there. I'm gonna set that aside and let that dry. And now let's do some stamping. So I've got another piece here of crumb cake, and we're gonna ink up again with that early espresso, another stamp in that set. It says sending a little blank, so there's a space, your way. And then there's all these different sentiments that we can put in that blank space. So we're just gonna stamp this kind of on the bottom right corner of our crumb cake piece here. So let me bring in the stamp set so you can see we've got sending a little blank your way, and you can put in there love, sending a little love your way, a little luck your way with some shamrocks, right? Sending a little party your way, how fun, maybe some birthday candles with that. And what we're gonna use today is sending a little sweetness your way. So So we've got our space there. We could take our stamp, so I've got our sweetness stamp. We could take that and just stamp it right in the middle there, but I wanted it to pop. So we're actually gonna bring in a little scrap of basic white. We're gonna bring in a new color here, a pecan pie. And then we are going to ink this up in that pecan pie, or pecan, or pecan. How do you say that? We're just stamp that down, and we've got our sweetness. Now, if we put this whole strip on there, you can see it kind of blocks some of those other words, right? So what I went ahead and did is I fussy cut that out. So I just used my paper snips, fussy cut that out. And now I'm gonna add that to my crumb cake layer there in between. So we just got a few dots of liquid glue, and we're going to just go ahead and center that right below. Now see how that pops when you've got the two colors there, sending a little sweetness your way. So we're just gonna go ahead and layer this on a piece of Pool Party cardstock. So I'm just gonna use a little bit more liquid glue. Layer and layer, and it really makes your cards extra wowy. Okay, so we've got that piece done. So let's bring back in our card base. And for this, I'm gonna use some dimensionals. So we're just gonna go ahead and add some dimensionals right to the back here. Just peeling off the backs as I go here. Love our dimensionals. And we'll add some in the middle because I don't want this to droop or sag or anything, right? So we want it to be fully layered up there. So let me just peel off these backings. And we're gonna center this right on our card front here. We're just centering that down. Okay, now we need a jar and some cookies. What do you think? Okay, so let's bring in a scrap of basic white here. And we're gonna stamp our jar. So we've got some Memento ink. This is just our black, tuxedo black ink here. We've got our jar, like our jar outline. And we're just going to stamp that right down. Then we're going to use some pecan pie ink with our cookie image here. And we're just going to add our cookies right in there. We're gonna add some chocolate chips, oops, in our early espresso. Good thing early espresso is darker, right? So let's ink that up good. If you ever goofed and stuck your stamp in the wrong color, good thing that was a little goof, right? And there we have some cookies. Look at those cookies. Don't they just look delicious? Totally edible, ready to eat. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my blending brush because I really want to make this jar look realistic. So I've got some Pool Party ink here, and I've got my blending brush. And so I am just going to grab a little bit of ink here on my brush. I'm going to start off of my jar because you don't ever want like a smudgy, right? So I'm going to start off my jar, and I'm just going to lightly take my blending brush and go over my whole jar and cookies. Since we're using a lighter color here, it's not going to affect our cookies. Our cookies are still going to be just as delicious, right? So we've got our blending, and you can see it just gives it a tint that makes it really look like glass, right? Like a glass jar. So that is step one for making this look realistic. But wait till you see what I have for you to make it shine. So let me grab my punch here, and I'm just going to bring this in. We're gonna line this up. This is how easy this is. Punch that through, and we have our cookie jar, right? There is a lid as well, but I've got a trick for you on that. You could stamp your lid and punch it, or you can do what I did, which is to make it look a bit more realistic. I brought in some of our foil. So this is our brushed silver and gold foil, and it is lovely for accenting. So I have already cut a strip here of the silver, and I'm just gonna bring that punch back in, and this strip is about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just gonna line this up, and you can see I could just go down the line here of my strip and punch, punch, punch. I won't do them all, but you can see that I just punch a bunch of those. I'll save those in my stamp set to use whenever I'm making some of these jar lids, right? And here is my lid that will look totally realistic once I put that on. Now let's make our jar look like real glass. And so my little tip for that is to grab some of our window sheets. So our window sheets come 12 by 12, and they are a clear piece of acetate. So I know that you can't fully see that on camera, but hopefully you can see this piece here. And so it is a window sheet. It's a piece of clear acetate. So I'm just gonna take my punch once again, and I'm just gonna punch right through that clear acetate, and you can see that, there you go, you can see that it's punched right through. And I'm gonna use this piece, I'm trying to get the camera to pick this up for us. Let me bring in, there you go, I think you can see that. Can you see that? It shines, right? And so it's just a clear, it's gonna make our jar look so realistic. Now I know you're probably thinking, well, Tracy, how are we gonna get that onto our jar? How are we gonna adhere that, right? So here is my tip for you. We've got our liquid adhesive, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that acetate piece. I'm gonna make sure there's no little, you don't want any lint or anything on there. We're gonna add some liquid adhesive, just like so. And then I've got a sponge dauber here that I use just for gluing. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to take this, and all over the whole piece, once I've added my glue, and I'm going to spread that out. So this just makes it a real thin layer, and it's going to make it so you cannot see, there we go. So you cannot see it. You can see the glue on there, right? But you won't be able to see it once it dries. So I'm just gonna line this up over my cookie jar here. I'm gonna make sure it's all in the right spots, and look at that. Now, you may see the glue a little bit at first, but my tip for that is to just give it a good back rub so that it really adheres. And then as it dries, you're not gonna be able to see it at all because our liquid glue dries clear. But look at that. Now, can you see all that shine? Our jar looks real. Now we're gonna take that piece that we punched with the foil, and we're gonna adhere that. I'm just using my piece here in case any of our glue, we don't want it all over the table, right? So we've got our jar lid here. We're just gonna add this right to the top. I'm gonna hold it there for just a second so that it adheres. And now we have a totally realistic cookie jar that I don't know about you, but I would just love to dig in and take a bite, right? So let's take our jar now. We're gonna flip it over to the back side and we're gonna add just a few dimensionals here to the back. And this one we'll put a little bit over our lid there, our jar lid, so that it just gives it a little extra layer of security. Just peeling off the backings there. We've got our card base, and we're just gonna take our jar, and I like to put this at a little angle here, just gives it a little bit of an interest. And there you have it, sending a little sweetness your way with some super cute chocolate chips inside. You can write your message. Now, of course, we need a little bit of bling, and so our neutral matte dots are one of my favorites. I have used them on so many cards. I think they go with lots. So these pecan pie ones are perfect with our cookies, right? So we're just gonna go ahead and add 3 of those. Got 2 at the bottom. Let's put 1 here towards the top. And our cookie card, sending some sweetness your way, is complete. Isn't that fun? I just love this card. And this stamp set, sweet jar, the bundle comes with the stamp set and the punch. And of course you're gonna want them both, right? So they just go so well together. Okay, so let's flip this camera back so that I can thank you for joining me today, and for watching, for liking, for subscribing, and for sharing me with your friends. So I will see you guys next week with another fun card tutorial for you. Check out my blog so that you can grab your free PDF tutorial. You can print it, put it in your ideal book, right? I have a binder and I put all my fun ideas that I get from fellow demonstrators in there. And it's just a great resource to go back through when I'm like, I need an idea, right? Okay, everyone, I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.